Welcome into Rogue Football. I'm your host, Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here today. Right now, we have got our Denver Broncos 2024 7-round mock draft. Really excited for this one because I think the Broncos are in a very interesting position right now with Sean Payton kind of trying to remake this team in his image. They shipped off Russell Wilson. Obviously, you have needs at a lot of spots. We're going to dive into all of it here. But if you're enjoying the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. So the Broncos, they have $22.6 million in cap space right now, which means they can still address some of their needs in free agency in wave 2 and wave 3 of free agency. A team that still does have several needs. They do have some really nice young pieces at spots as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. They currently have 8 draft picks, including 12 overall in the first round, but no second round pick. So you're certainly thinking about, man, how could we get a second rounder? Maybe a trade back situation. We will dive into that. But the needs for me right now, biggest need is quarterback. You got to figure out where you're going with the future of this football team at the most important position in sports, right? Cornerback, I think you could use someone as well opposite Patrick Surtain. I love what they have in McMillan in the slot. I think you could still use wide receiver. You know, you shipped off Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. He has a couple years left on his deal, but after the 2024 season, they could effectively decide to move on, save $14 million in cap space with very little dead money on Cortland Sutton's contract. So I think that there's definitely some room to improve the wide receiver room. Interior offensive line, you lost Lloyd Cushenberry. Ben Powers is starting at left guard right now, a guy that you brought over from Baltimore, didn't have the greatest year for the Broncos in 2023. So I definitely think you could upgrade at center and guard. At safety, I think you could use some work as well. You did bring over Jones from Miami, but I still think you could use some more help. Like I said, no second round pick. I love the idea of trading down. And what if you even do it twice? I think once is great. Twice would be fantastic. All the draft capital you could amass by moving back twice in the first round. They really need to have a draft here that helps shapes a lot of their position groups moving forward, help makes this look more like a Sean Payton football team. I say you trade down to the late teens with the Los Angeles Rams at 19 overall. I was ready to pick Bo Nix there, but then you get another trade offer from the Packers who are wanting to move up for a guy that they really value. So you moved it down to 19. You picked up pick 52 as well in that trade. Then you move down to pick 25 with the Packers. You get 88 and 169 as well. So now you have 11 picks to help reshape this roster, and you got your second round pick that we talked about, right? So at 25, quarterback Bo Nix, he makes too much sense for me, and I know this is a common refrain around the media right now, but when you look at what he does well, it aligns with what Sean Payton has done as a successful offensive coach, right? With Drew Brees. And I'm not sitting here and trying to tell you that Bo Nix is Drew Brees, but he can do some of the same things. The way he can get through his reads quickly, deliver the ball on time, accurately in this offense, I think it just really shapes up perfectly. And then you also talk about his ability to be an athletic playmaker, his creation capacity. He has arm elasticity as well. So I think he can be the guy that game manages in this offense that Sean Payton's looking for, but can also elevate the offense a little bit with his creation ability, his ability to run around and make plays. He's got an arm that isn't the strongest arm in the NFL by any stretch, not the strongest arm in this draft class, but he can make every throw that you're required to make in a Sean Payton offense and any NFL offense. He can get the job done. So I think Bo Nix, if you want to hitch your wagon to a guy that has the potential to be very accurate, on time, smart, good decision maker, a leader, and also has that playmaking ability in him, Bo Nix just makes too much sense for me for the Denver Broncos. I think it's a perfect fit. And again, you've been able to trade down a couple times and still get your quarterback that you really like. I would love it. I would love that for the Denver Broncos. At 52 overall, in that pick we got from the Rams, wide receiver Jalen Polk out of Washington. This is a player that does not drop the football, comes down with a ton of contested catches. He's a 3-level threat, in my opinion. He's a very explosive athlete. I think that had he not been in an offense that also featured 2 other wide receivers that should go, Romo Dunze early in the first round, and then Jalen McMillan probably sometime on day 2. Jalen Polk would have had even more work, right? And a guy who I just think he blocks his ass off. He does everything the right way. I think he would be a Sean Payton type receiver for sure. Then at 76, I mentioned I want to upgrade our offensive line, the interior of the offensive line. Dominic Pudi out of Kansas. He is a potential 5-position flex player. Pooney played tackle this past year at Kansas. He showed the ability to play guard. He also did some center work at the Senior Bowl. So Dominic Pooney is tough. He's physical, got great hand usage. I think he's a good enough athlete to kind of, in a phone booth, mirror movements. So I love the idea of bringing him in to help fortify the interior of the offensive line, whether he's competing at guard or center. And then at 88, we're double dipping Mason McCormick out of South Dakota State, another interior offensive lineman who played guard in college but had some center work at Shrine Bowl. I think if you bring these two guys in to help reshape the interior of that offensive line, you've got your tackles in place, and now you have a really competitive group in the middle, an offensive line that can really help your young quarterback get it going and obviously help that running game as well. I think McCormick and Pooney would be fantastic for the Broncos in the run department. And then at 121 overall, cornerback Kalen Carson out of Wake Forest. This guy that has size, has physicality. He's incredibly feisty out there, plays with an edge, and I just think he would be a good fit across from Patrick Surtain. At 136, linebacker Edifon Olufishoyo out of Washington. This is a guy that blew up at the combine, had a fantastic day. His tape is really strong. I think he could come in and compete with the guys you do have. You obviously brought over Cody Barton, have Alex Singleton, but I think he could quickly become a starter in the Broncos defense. At 145, defensive lineman Gabe Hall out of Baylor had a really nice Senior Bowl practice week. A guy that has very good length, very good explosiveness, probably could be a big defensive end for you. Can get the job done rushing the quarterback and defending the run for you. A little bit of a project. Didn't have the best tape. There was some ups and downs, but definitely has the physical tools. At 147, tight end Jared Wiley. He just screams Sean Payton to me. A guy that has tremendous hands, does not drop the football. He's very explosive as well, but he can get the job done in the blocking department. He's got very good size at the tight end position, a guy that has length, that will give effort as a blocker. I think that he's a very nice swing on day 3 for the Denver Broncos. For me, he should be a day 2 guy. 169 overall, another player who probably should be a day 2 pick, running back Ray Davis out of Kentucky. Do the Broncos necessarily need a running back right now? No, but Ray Davis is just too talented to pass on. This is a guy that I think is a 3-down back, has the explosiveness, the speed, low center of gravity, very good power, contact balance, good hands out of the backfield. I think he can eventually replace and become your RB2, if not your RB1 down the road. So I really like Ray Davis. No knock at Javonte Williams there. But again, running back shelf life in the NFL can be very short, and Javonte Williams had the ACL a couple years ago. We'll see how that plays out for him. I'm a huge fan of his game, but I think if you eventually want to move on from Samaje Perine or whatever it may be, Ray Davis is a very good running back to land on day 3. At 203, safety Kenny Logan. I think he's a guy that can compete to get some reps early on out of Kansas, a player that is instinctive, is smart, not going to be the greatest athlete ever, but I think he can definitely be a rangy type of safety on the back end. I kind of compare him to Sean Gibson, a guy who played in the league for a very long time and was a late round pick himself. At 207 overall, wanted to land another wide receiver, Joshua Cephas out of UTSA. I think this is the type of player that reminds me of a lot of late round draft picks at wide receiver for like Sean Payton teams. He's 6'2", about 190 pounds. He's very twitchy at his size. He's a good route runner, has nice release package, does not drop the football, comes down with contested catches, gets open at all 3 levels. I just think this is an underrated prospect in a wide receiver class that's absolutely loaded, and you see some guys that should not be falling down the draft board, but again, due to how many good receivers there are in this class, I think a guy like Joshua Cephas could be available late in this one. So I think this is a draft that really helps set the tone for the Denver Broncos, set the tone for Sean Payton with this football team. You get your quarterback, you get him another young wide receiver, you fortify the interior of the offensive line, and then you take a bunch of swings at other positions to try to kind of just upgrade the overall talent level, the overall competition on this roster. And, maybe you don't push for the playoffs in 2024, but I think this definitely sets you up to have a nice, sustainable run of success with the Denver Broncos and Sean Payton at head coach. If you're a Broncos fan, please let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Y'all have a good one.